So you may need a very developed, well-written background for your level 1 character in an RPG you're making or in a tabletop campaign. And whether you're a new tabletop enjoyer or a new writer or even somebody experienced, somebody that's making a project of their own, or just you're joining a new campaign and you want to be up to par with other so vastly interesting characters and places, and you just want a good background, even if it's a level 1 character. So what do you do and how to avoid usual mistakes? Because as you might well know already, or not if you're that new, but as you might well know, a first level character is extremely inexperienced in D&D terms. So you want to have an interesting background, but how do you achieve this with a character that never has gotten enough experience to advance a level, shall we say? So we should concentrate more on their emotional and personal origins. First, what kind of child were they when they were a very small child? What did they get to motivate them then? How did that grow over time when they grew to sort of average age child in their culture? And then further, how did that follow them? Did they change their mind? Did they reinforce their beliefs? What new beliefs did they get? And for their experiences that are more practical, as for fighting or something else that would define their class later, what did they slightly or somewhat regularly do that's not that difficult or hard to accomplish at their then age? As we all know from many a novel about it, a street urchin is most of the inspiration for a rogue class in any edition of D&D. So we are careful to not overstate their deeds previous, but realistically frame it for somebody just stepping into such a situation and maybe bearing with it for a long time, which might have been difficult but wasn't as highly professionally challenging yet. It was at their scale and it wasn't that filled out with new potential of the challenges, as opposed to the character's potential that was very visibly vivid already. Of course, as I've said, we shouldn't overdo with how cool and powerful or anything like that they were at the time. No, we are dedicating mostly to the events of what started them on which actions, which habits, which paths. What did they witness that they didn't fully participate in yet? Or what did they participate in fully that's appropriate for their age at the time that others also realistically participate in? And then they may show some talent and stuff. But again, everything that would realistically, within bounds of the system, happen before level 1 by power scaling, by skill, by ability, by percentual chances of things happening, by, you don't want them to have picked too difficult locks. Essentially, that would have leveled them up, to be perfectly blunt. And yes, people potentially shouldn't think like that in writing, but actually keeping to a system, if you're using it for an RPG or tabletop, if you're using the system, you should stick to realism both within the system and outside the system at the same time. So even if that sounds gamist a lot, it's actually good advice to think about. Many people who like RPG things, they love to hear that sort of consistency, even if it was sort of uncalled for, if outright publicly stated. It's an interesting paradox. People love to reconstruct builds, but they don't want to hear that that's how they were built, in a way. So think about it, use it, but potentially keep it to yourself unless you trust exactly your audience to not tell you that you have too much D&D on your brain. Then also you can see what things are crucial to their personality that occurred to them later and later and later up to the point of the start of the campaign. Especially things like which friends they've gained and how did that shape them as a person. Which new beliefs they got due to an event as opposed to due to something that they liked by themselves in a more earlier environment. I wanted to say stabler environment, but no, not everybody has a more stable environment when they are very little either, so that may vary. So take all of that into consideration and don't over engorge their biography, don't over pepper it. More focus on mental and emotional aspect of why this is a good character arc of growing up, growing into things, becoming an interesting person, and what person is the person that they're becoming, and why is that person interesting and lovely to read about, to listen about, to watch at your table being played out by your friends. So that's how you do a level 1. Even when you're experienced, when you're new, whatever the case may be, this is the straightforward approach. I haven't elaborated much on it. I just gave you some direct pointers there, but yes, you can check back to some of your favorite characters that have some of the more detailed origin stories, and you can go by points what appears there, all of them, what all points are appearing, and go point by point and list them out, and then check another character and another, and have a huge list of what you might want to think about when constructing a character background, and then you will be among the pros already, even if you were new minutes ago. Just try to keep it elegant. I know it's a very loose concept, but yeah. So, adventure, if you thought this was unique or helpful, maybe you can spare me a click and I could see you here next, or perhaps even every week, because every week I have more such stuff for you. I make them myself. I'm Em, and welcome to dMTable. See you next time. Bye.